and welcome to World No Tobacco Day, hashtag Tobacco Exposed. This campaign is all about young people, and we are going to be talking about the tobacco and nicotine industry and how they try and manipulate young people into buying deadly products. Okay. I'm just getting a note that the video has stopped. Okay, so I think that we're live now, and I'm Jamie Guerra. I'm a communications officer at the World Health Organization, and today we're talking about World No Tobacco Day. And this year's campaign is all about how the tobacco and nicotine industries are targeting young people. I'm here with my colleague Kirsten today.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Schotte. I'm a medical doctor and I work here at WHO in the Health Promotion Department.
Thank you, Kirsten, and thank you to everyone who's joining us online. Please do ask us your questions about the tobacco and nicotine industry, the harmful effects of tobacco and nicotine, and how you might be able to quit some of these deadly products. So today we're going to start off with our first question for some of our guests. It looks like, okay, the slogan for this year's campaign, people are asking, why did we choose hashtag Tobacco Exposed? What does that mean?
So for decades, the tobacco industry has preyed on vulnerable groups, such as children and adolescents, to target really their marketing and advertising on them to get new consumers for their deadly products. And this year, we want to launch a counter-marketing campaign for this. And we want to call on governments, schools, and young people to really speak out and expose these tactics so that we can create in the future a tobacco-free generation.
Thank you, Kirsten. And I'm wondering, how does the tobacco and other industries, how do they go about targeting youth?
Yeah, so for decades they have been targeting youth. The tactics have changed a little bit over time. We saw previously more on traditional media, in newspapers, on television. We saw a lot of advertising. Nowadays, it has shifted more to social media. So now we see a lot on TikTok, on Pinterest, influencers that promote tobacco products and other products such as e-cigarettes. And we also see a lot of product placement in movies, for example, and on online streaming platforms. In fact, there have been studies that show that half of the youth-rated streaming shows show tobacco products constantly. So youth are really bombarded constantly with images of people using tobacco products.
They're really exposed to these graphics and these messages of tobacco and nicotine industry. And so how can youth actually fight back? What are some of the things that they can do to fight back against the tobacco industry?
We think youth can do a lot. We know how strong young people are once they put their mind on something. We saw that with the climate change debate where they went on the street. And youth are so resourceful and creative. So we think once they really understand how they're manipulated by the tobacco industry, we hope that this rage will get them to stand up against this and get organized in groups, for example. And we have a lot of World No Tobacco Day awardees that have shown what can be done in many countries around the world by young people speaking out.
Thank you, Kirsten. And if you're just joining us now, we encourage everyone to ask us questions that you might have about exposing the tobacco industries and about some of these tobacco and nicotine products. So please feel free to put your questions in the comments below. And again, this is for World No Tobacco Day, all about involving young people in the fight against the tobacco industry and some of their harmful and deadly products. So I'm here with Kirsten Schotte, medical doctor at the World Health Organization. And Kirsten, can you tell us, I have a question from our audience. Lauren asks, what are the recommended ways to help someone quit smoking, whether it's cigarettes or e-cigarettes? How can people quit?
Mm-hmm. So one tip that we give is that you should set for yourself a quit date, and that can be something, for example, your birthday or any other anniversary, something that is really important to you. Another tip is if you can get some friends or family members to quit together with you, then it's easier. And then you should anticipate some challenges. Why is that? It's because nicotine that's included in cigarettes is so addictive. Studies have shown that it's as addictive as cocaine. So you can expect that your body will crave this substance when you stop using cigarettes or e-cigarettes. So be prepared and have something that really can distract you when the craving comes. For example, if you like to meditate, do that, do yoga, go for a run, eat something healthy. Anything that helps you to distract you from this craving will help.
Thanks, Kirsten. And I know that we talked about things like toll-free quit lines in your country or state. We talked about having counselors and the support of your community. We're having one question from our audience is, what can parents do, actually, if young people are smoking or vaping, using e-cigarettes? What can parents do?
Yeah, so information is good. We have a great poster that parents could, for example, hang on one of their walls. You find it as WHO tobacco body poster. If you Google that, you will see immediately how helpful that is, because it shows you all the health effects of tobacco products, and that's a good motivator. So if parents want to print out that poster, put it in their living room, and then if the kids are willing to quit, then help to make the whole environment tobacco free. Have no lighters, have no tobacco products lying around. That will help.
And it sounds like the best thing that parents can do to help their young people quit is to be open and transparent, to speak with them about quitting. You spoke earlier about how community and how your family and friends can help you and support. Tell your parents that you're trying to quit. Tell your friends, so that you have that whole supportive community to work with you, and they know what you're trying to do and can support you in those efforts. Thank you for your great questions. If you're just joining us, we are doing a tobacco exposed campaign for World No Tobacco Day, which is this Sunday, and we have questions coming in from our audience. Kimberly Farrell commented, "I smoke and I've smoked since I was 13. I never saw an ad for cigarettes. They were outlawed by that time. I started smoking because they told me I had to be 18 to do so, and it made me feel grown up to smoke." So why do you think that is, or what do you think about how people see cigarettes and how they're normalized, or how the tobacco industry tries to normalize them?
Yeah. So it's good if you live in a country where there's no tobacco advertising. I come from a country, Germany, where there's still billboards advertising. And whenever I go with my family, my kids can't believe that this is still happening. So, but I think the unconscious promotion tactics, they are there all the time. So you see in movies your favorite stars, they are smoking. We spoke about online streaming movies. There's also promotion of artistic events, for example, of concerts. In some countries, it's still allowed that tobacco representatives go, for example, to concerts where a lot of young people go, and they hand out free samples of their products so that young people can try them out and get hooked to these products so quickly.
I have to say, I have been shocked by some of the tactics we're learning today, including parties hosted by the tobacco and nicotine industries and representatives that go into the schools. So if you're just joining us today, we're talking about hashtag tobacco exposed, all about how the tobacco industry is specifically targeting young people with new and old tactics and with new and old products, in fact. So we're getting questions in from the audiences. One question, are menthol cigarettes safer than those without menthol?
That's a good question, and the very clear answer is no. What menthol does, it's very devious actually, because when you put menthol in tobacco, the smoke is cooler and you can inhale it, so to say, better. and it goes deeper in the lungs. So there have been actually studies showing that the cancer that is caused by menthol cigarettes is deeper in the lungs and a little bit more to detect by X-ray. So it's very, very dangerous.
So what you're saying is that it's actually easier for you feel that it's easier to inhale, but it's just as dangerous for your body, in fact.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. And we have another question coming here. Does nicotine contribute to having health conditions like diabetes, for example?
So the nicotine does not cause diabetes. But in tobacco products, there is a lot of tar. If you smoke cigarettes, for example, you have the nicotine that does a lot of bad things to your body, but it doesn't cause diabetes. What damages the blood vessels in the body is the tar that's contained in tobacco products. And this is also what is causing cancer and so many other diseases. The nicotine is a very addictive product, substance, that causes the blood vessels in the body to constrain, and then the oxygen, for example, cannot be transported as well to all the organs in the body. Another problem is that the brain is developing up to the mid-20s, and nicotine can damage the developing brain. So especially for young people, this is dangerous.
Okay, so nicotine actually stops some of the blood flow or constricts it. And so those nutrients can't get to your body that your body needs as easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what we're hearing is that nicotine, which is found in e-cigarettes, is extremely addictive. It's as addictive as cocaine, right?
Yes.
And
many kids don't know this because if you look at e-cigarettes, if you go to a shop and you look at these products, you see all of these flavors, bubblegum, cherry, Coca-Cola, you name it. There are 15,000 of these flavors. And if kids see that in the shop with the sweet packaging, looking pink and rosy, they assume that this is meant for them and not dangerous and doesn't contain nicotine. So a lot of young people are actually shocked when they learn that these are very addictive substances that can harm them.
Wow. Thank you, Kirsten. And right now we're going to take a little break and go to our friends in Ireland. We have now joining us Zara Daly. She's a youth representative from an Irish youth group in Limerick, Ireland, Limerick Corlenanog. And Zara, are you with us? I hope you can hear me. I have a few questions. Congratulations to you and the group for winning the World No Tobacco Day Award this year.
Thank you. So I'm Zara Daly. I'm from Limerick, Ireland, and I'm a member of Corlenanog. So Corlenanog is a youth council, and there's one every local authority in Ireland. It empowers young people by giving us a chance to have our voices heard, and it was through Corla I actually got involved with the Not Around Us campaign.
So tell us more about the Not Around Us campaign. What were you guys trying to do?
So the campaign focuses on denormalizing smoking in the eyes of our youth and discouraging people from smoking. Signage was created and placed in areas where there were children, such as playgrounds. And then the Not Around Us slogan comes from the perspective of the youth. It's the children telling the adults it's not right to smoke around them. We thought that if the children didn't see the adults smoking, then they wouldn't consider it a normality.
Thank you, Zara. And what made you want to get involved with something like this?
So I chose to get involved with this project because it tackles an issue I feel really passionate about. We know that smoking has such a dangerous effect on the health of the smoker, but it also affects the health of those around them, the way the youth view smoking, and it's very harmful to the environment. I thought that this project could help current smokers to quit and could change the youth's perception of smoking by discouraging smoking in public places and around children.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like you and the group there had a real impact on the community. Thank you for joining us today. Congratulations again for being a World No Tobacco Day awardee for your achievements in tobacco control in Limerick, Ireland.
Thank you so much.
All right, Kirsten, we're going to go back to our Q&A now. And we have a lot more. We have quite a few questions coming in from the audience. So I'm just opening these up. Coming in from Facebook, we have Sandip Yandiv. how harmful is flavored tobacco used in shisha and hookah compared to cigarettes? Or, I mean, is it harmful, the flavored tobacco in shisha?
The very quick answer is yes. You might think that if it goes through water and smells so smooth in your mouth that it's not dangerous, but it's not the case. Tobacco is dangerous in any form. In fact, tobacco causes 25% of all cancers. So it's really an immense health burden. And hookah is just as dangerous as smoking cigarettes.
And of course, tobacco kills over 8 million people every year from various diseases. So it's extremely harmful, even if it's masked by some of those flavors that we talked about before, the vanilla in the shisha or the bubble gum in the e-cigarette or vanilla. It still is very, very harmful. And another question coming in from our audience, what types of cancers are caused by smoking?
Well, the list is very, very long. Smoking causes almost cancer in almost all organs of the body. We have the WHO tobacco body poster where you can take a look. Of course, lung cancer, cancers of the nose, the throat, the mouth, bladder cancer.
Of course, because if you're chewing tobacco as well, it can cause oral cancer,
yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Wow. Thank you for that question. And we have quite a few more. And just to remind everybody, we are talking about World No Tobacco Day, and this year's campaign is focused on youth and what they can do to fight back against the tobacco industry. So to get informed, please go online, take our quiz at who.int. We also have the quiz available on TikTok and other platforms like Instagram. We hope you'll join us and even take our TikTok dance challenge, #TobaccoExposed. So our next question here is we're going to talk a little bit about how many young people worldwide use tobacco, Kirsten. Is a big number globally? How many people, young people worldwide, use tobacco?
We have a number from 177 countries, and that is 44 million people in the age between 13 and 15 years old. And this is about 12% of the population in that age group.
And I know that we've seen an increase with things like e-cigarettes. Can you tell us a little bit more about e-cigarettes and the rate, and how we've seen that increased in different countries?
Yeah, so in most countries in the world, the rate is increasing quite fast. And we have some countries in Poland, for example, where more than 20% of young people use e-cigarettes. The US is another example where this has become a huge public health problem. And this is a problem because young kids that use e-cigarettes have more than double the chance of becoming smokers of cigarettes later in life. And we talked already about all the health effects of cigarette smoking. So this is really a problem.
So, and that brings us to a question from one of our audience members. Gail is asking, so what can be done? What kind of regulations can be put in place to prevent young people from using tobacco and nicotine products?
Yeah, what we recommend to countries as WHO is to reduce the demand for these products. What does it mean? That means, for example, that we want kids to grow up in a country where they can go to bars, to restaurants, where nobody smokes, where you have smoke-free public places. We want children to grow up in a country where there's no tobacco advertising. We call that actually pushing the mute button on the tobacco industry so that they cannot talk to kids constantly anymore. That means also that we want to warn people about the dangers of tobacco. For example, anti-tobacco mass media campaigns, or what is also useful is large graphic health warnings on these products so that everybody is really constantly reminded of this. And then one effective measure is also to reduce the price for these products so that they become less affordable. And we know from experience, if countries adopt all of these measures, then the smoking rates go very, very low.
Thank you, Kirsten. And if you're just joining us, please send us your questions. Today, we're talking about how the tobacco and nicotine industry manipulates young people into using their products. So we want to expose tobacco. We're using the hashtag #TobaccoExposed. we are going to now go to one of our World No Tobacco Day award winners. And so we would like to speak to Aoife. And Aoife, if you're on and can hear us, I have a few questions for you. Firstly, congratulations for winning this year's World No Tobacco Day award. Aoife Ryan is a youth representative from Limerick, whose group Limerick Corlenanog won this year's World No Tobacco Day award. Aoife, are you on with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful for the award.
We're very happy you could join us today. And earlier, we were told about the Not Around Us campaign, where your group actually spoke with local authorities, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it impacted the community?
So our main goal with the project was to change the environment and change how young people view smoking. Because our idea was you can only educate people about the dangers of smoking so much, but you really can't make a huge difference if the children then go out and see adults smoking in playgrounds or around schools. Because children are like sponges and they soak up their environments. So whatever they see, they'll do. And I think our goal was to change that. And I think that's what the project can achieve. It denormalizes it. That's a word we used a lot in the project, was like to denormalize smoking. We never want children to see smoking as a normal thing for them to do.
Wow, that's incredible, the impact that you guys have had to actually change some of the policies in Limerick to ban smoking around schools, around playgrounds, so that kids don't see this and think that it's a normal thing to do. And why did you get involved in a project like that?
I got involved because it was a project about young people, but it was ran by young people. And that's really important because the younger generations all over the world, we don't really get a huge say in how our governments or how legislation is run. And I think when projects like this are made, it's really important for all of us to get involved and get our voices heard, especially in a project that's so close to home, because I live in Limerick City. So it's really important to me that the place I live is clean and healthy and that smoking becomes a thing of our past and not our future.
I absolutely agree. I honestly couldn't have said it better myself. Congratulations again to you, Aoife, and thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you and all of your colleagues. And so we've just heard from Aoife Ryan, who is a youth representative from Limerick County, and their group was able to change policies to ban smoking near playgrounds and schools so that kids don't see it as a normal thing. What do you think about that, Kristen? Do you think that part of the tobacco tactics are to normalize smoking somehow, and how is this done?
Yes. Well, this is done, for example, in putting smoking scenes in movies. We know that money is flowing into the movie industry, into the streaming industry, so that constantly you see people using these products. And also you see other advertisements, you see sponsorship of events, for example, logos of the industry everywhere. It's sometimes very subtle, but people notice this and it works on them.
Okay, that's really interesting. We have questions coming in from our audience members. Thank you for those of you who are watching. And please don't forget to send us questions, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or however you're watching us. We have one from Kamel, who's asking, what can be done to children who are addicted to smoking, and maybe they don't see a need to quit smoking, but what can be done to help them to quit smoking?
We try to help kids by informing them, first of all. You might think everybody knows how dangerous these products are, but with e-cigarettes, it's often not the case. Kids really underestimate how addictive these products are and how dangerous these are. And we are trying to really help kids understand this, for example, with this World No Tobacco Day campaign.
And if you'd like to learn more about our campaign, please visit who.int. You can find all of the social media graphics, quizzes, which are both on our website and live across social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. We encourage you to take those and become informed of the tactics that the tobacco industry is using to target young people. So we have another question from our audience, which is about what steps should be taken to avoid chewing tobacco. But I guess it's more in general, how can you avoid using tobacco, to quit chewing tobacco, to quit smoking, to quit vaping? What can be done? What tactics can people use that can support themselves?
So it's good if in your family you have a community of not using tobacco. If, for example, your parents refuse to use tobacco, then it's great if you can support that. And if your parents can support you, speak with you about the dangers, and that's a very good thing. And as a society, what can be done is that really the government puts in place policies and laws so that kids don't want to start using these products. When I grew up, for example, as a kid, it was still cool to smoke cigarettes. And in many countries around the world, you can't imagine that anymore. So in one generation, it can really change the image of these products.
Yes, and we've seen how the tobacco industry, now that cigarettes are being less and less used, how the tobacco industry is switching to new products. Can you tell us a little bit about their tactics and how they've changed over time?
New products are, for example, e-cigarettes. These are products that don't contain tobacco, but a liquid that often contains nicotine, often not all the time. And then that liquid is heated by a battery and you inhale an aerosol, which, for example, contains nicotine if the liquid contains nicotine. The problem is that many kids, first of all, completely underestimate how addictive nicotine is. They think, I can try it a couple of times and then stop anytime I want. But that is not the case. Nicotine is very addictive and it's not easy to quit. And then all the flavors in these products make it so attractive to children. And children don't understand that these are really dangerous products, not meant for them.
And we had a question earlier about what parents can do to help children and young people quit smoking as well. And we're having more questions about secondhand smoke. So what impact does, let's say, if you're an adult or a young person and you're smoking around other people or using tobacco products, what impact does secondhand smoke have?
Secondhand smoke is very dangerous. 1.2 million people die each year just because they are exposed to secondhand smoke. They don't even choose to smoke themselves. 1.2 million people. And these are often children and women. And secondhand smoke have the same effects as smoking. You get cancer, you get cardiovascular disease, you get emphysema from secondhand smoke. This is why it's so important that governments make all public places completely smoke-free.
Wow. It sounds like actually secondhand smoke can be just as dangerous as smoking itself. A lot of the same effects there. So we are going to take a short break and go to one of our World No Tobacco Day award winners. So next with us, coming from Slovenia, it's called No Excuse Slovenia, the youth group there. We have Nina and Amadea. And I think first joining us is Amadea. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her experience as a mystery shopper, where she tried to go into stores and shops and tried to buy tobacco products as a 16-year-old, which of course is illegal. And so, Amadea, are you with us? Can you hear us okay? Welcome, Amadea. I'm not sure you can hear us because I can't hear your sound, but I do want to ask you a question. Was it easy for you to actually buy tobacco products? Okay, unfortunately, we can't hear you, Amadea, so I'm going to tell our audience what Amadea had told us before. I'm sorry, Amadea, thank you for joining us, and we're going to try and fix the sound, but we had a conversation earlier with Amadea where she told us that as a 16-year-old, she was actually able to buy tobacco products in Slovenia. So what the program did with No Excuse Slovenia is actually go in with an inspector or authority and find the stores that allowed Amadea, who's 16, to buy tobacco products. So this was a way of raising awareness. And we're going to go to Nina, who's also from No Excuse Slovenia, who can tell us a little bit more about this program and how No Excuse educates youth to make them become aware of the harms of tobacco and nicotine products and what they can do to fight back against the industry. Nina, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. And we can hear you.
Great. That's lovely. So, yes, mystery shopping is just one of the programs that we do, and we want to raise awareness and use it as an advocacy tool for changes in our policies. Besides that, we also do a lot of preventive programs and projects. One of them is a peer-to-peer workshop where we address the tobacco issues. What we do is we work with young people, with our activists who are as old as Amadea is, and we train them. They learn a lot about the tobacco industry, the negative effects, and they go to schools, do the workshops on their own about the negative effects of smoking, and they talk a lot about the manipulation of the tobacco industry.
Thank you, Nina. And it's incredible what you do working with youth and educating them and helping them to understand how they're being targeted by the tobacco industries and how tobacco and other substances can be harmful to their health. Why did you decide to go into this kind of work?
So I first started as an activist, as a volunteer when I was 17, and it was really just something new, something I was interested in. But after time, you really understand that you're doing something important, and you try to change the society and do something good in your environment. So after time, I took over the projects on the tobacco, and now I am an employee in No Excuse Slovenia, and I'm so happy with my job.
And you've won this year's WHO World No Tobacco Day Award. So congratulations to you and your group there in Slovenia, No Excuse. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And for those of us who are just joining, thank you. And thank you for all of your questions you've been sending in. We've had quite a few questions from the group. We're going to talk a little bit about the campaign. This year's World No Tobacco campaign is #TobaccoExposed. And we've been talking about some of the ways that youth have been targeted by the tobacco and nicotine industries. Kirsten, can you tell me a couple of these ways, and what are some of the most shocking things that you've seen?
Well, it's a long list. Let me see. What is most shocking? Maybe tobacco representatives going to schools, actually, giving sponsorships to schools. So in a place where children should feel protected, actually they are in many countries not protected even there from the tobacco industry. So that I would say is the most shocking. Also shocking is that there are youth events like concerts where you see representatives of the industry giving out free samples of their products to hook youth, or giving branded products, merchandising products with the tobacco brand logo on them. And then also all the advertising on social media by influencers, or product placement in movies.
And I've seen at stores, they even sell it in these, gummy vitamins. I love the gummy vitamins, and I see those, but they're actually like e-cigarettes or something like that, or even in milk cartons. So as a young person who likes chocolate milk, for example, you might be tricked into thinking it's something that you like, it's good for you, and picking up that product that attracts you. So we have quite a few questions about some of the harms of tobacco. What additives does tobacco industry add to cigarettes, and what are their effects on health? For example, we know that it's extremely harmful. So what are some of the chemicals that are added to cigarettes, for example?
So to make cigarettes deadly, and I'm saying deadly because cigarettes kill half of their users, This is really incredible that we have a legal product that kills half of their users. And to make them so deadly and so dangerous, you actually don't have to add anything. The tobacco has it all. We're talking about formaldehyde, benzenes, all of these cancerogenous products. That means substances we know they cause cancer in humans. And all of that is already in tobacco. So the industry doesn't need to add anything to kill you. But what they add, for example, is sugar. And why do they do that? Because they figured out if you put sugar in tobacco, the nicotine raises in your blood quicker and decreases quicker. And why this is good? Because it makes it more addictive.
Oh, wow.
And that has been known for a couple of years. The industry had to publicly make available some of their internal documents. And from these internal documents, we know that the industry is manipulating the cigarettes so that they become addictive faster.
So, wow. So the tobacco industry is actually manipulating the product to make it more addictive. And they're adding things like sugar to help it do that, to help the nicotine levels rise and lower. Extremely interesting. And you mentioned formaldehyde. So formaldehyde is in tobacco, and it's something that's used to preserve dead bodies and other harmful chemicals. I remember we had a discussion before about, things that are also in weed killers and things like that are very harmful. Some things that are found in rat poison as well. It's shocking, all of the chemicals that can be found in tobacco and cigarettes and in other products. So we have quite a few questions coming in from our audience. Do substitutes like gum and patches of nicotine, do they work when you try and quit smoking? So what are other ways of quitting, and do these work?
Yes. Quitting is difficult because of the nicotine addiction. Your body gets used to it and it wants it. So when you substitute the nicotine, for example, with gums or with patches, then it's easier for you to get through the craving. And what also happens is when you put, for example, a patch with nicotine on your skin, the level of nicotine is constant. So you don't have this rising and dropping of nicotine in your blood, which is so addictive. So your body can little by little get used to feeling good. Your brain can feel good again without the nicotine.
Wow, okay. And so if you are going to quit, what are some good tips to have someone quit? I know you spoke about nicotine being extremely addictive as cocaine. So I imagine with that kind of an addiction, it's very difficult to quit. For example, for me, if I tried to quit eating chocolate, I couldn't do it. So what could you do if you're really trying to quit smoking or using e-cigarettes or using other forms of tobacco like shisha or chew? How can you quit?
So first of all, you should set a quit date, something that is meaningful for you. It could be your birthday, a birthday of a good friend, or any anniversary. Then you should tell your peers, your friends, your family about your intention to quit so that they can support you. And it would be also useful to find other people that want to quit with you so that you can really support each other and get through the craving together. You should also expect that it's not very easy because we talked about the nicotine addiction, and make a plan of what you can do if the craving comes. Can you go running? Can you do some yoga, meditation? Can you listen to some music, something that you really like and that can distract you, because the craving comes and goes. So for everybody, it's different what you can do. And then another good tip is to create a really environment free of cues that you would have, for example, have no lighters, no cigarettes, nothing that reminds you of your addiction.
Okay, so it sounds like it's really hard to quit, but you can do it. And there are great ways to quit, like choosing a quit buddy who can support you, involving your friends, your family, your supportive network around you to tell them that you're quitting so they can help encourage you and help you quit. And also choosing a quit date. Those seem like some key ways to quit. Thank you, Kirsten. We have quite a few questions coming in from our audiences watching across YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thank you for all of your questions. I'm going to go to a question here. And Kristen, I think we need to be a little bit louder.
Oh.
Some of our audience members are having trouble hearing us.
Sorry.
So we will try to speak very loudly for you. Today we are following live. So what can youth do concretely? What can the people who are watching, what actions can they take to actually support this initiative, to stop, to get the tobacco industry to stop manipulating young people into smoking? What action can I do? If just me, let's say.
Yeah, one good way to start is our campaign. We have this TikTok dance challenge, for example, that you can do and share with your friends and peers. That's one thing. Then you can also become active in your school. Ask that your school doesn't have any tobacco use allowed on the campus. Also, no promotion from the tobacco industry. And you can also go further. You can go in your community, like we heard from the awardees, the youth groups from Ireland, from Slovenia. You can ask that in your community, it's not allowed that people smoke around you, use tobacco around you. Or you can advocate for advertising bans, for example, and promotion and sponsorship bans. So there are a lot of ways that young people can get active.
Yes, so I'd say one of the things you can do right now that Kirsten mentioned is joining our campaign. You can learn more about the World No Tobacco campaign on who.int. That's www.who.int. And you can find all of the social media material on the World No Tobacco Day campaign, which you can help and spread the message on the fact that the tobacco industry is targeting young people and manipulating them into using some of these very deadly products, whether it's traditional cigarettes, hookah, shisha, chew, or newer products like e-cigarettes that are addictive and are harmful to young people. And we've seen an increase on some of the newer products. Can you tell me a little bit more in different countries how that's increasing?
In some countries, it has almost doubled in the last 10 years. So this is really something maybe that countries and regulators in countries running a little bit behind. The train has already left in many countries with these products being on the market and being picked up by young people a lot. Many countries and young people in many countries find it cool to use these products. They also get addicted very quickly. So we have seen really alarming rises in the use of these products.
Okay, so we're going to take just one last question from our audience for now before we go off to our World No Tobacco Day awardees. So what happens in the body when you stop smoking?
Your body misses the nicotine. The nicotine attaches to receptors in your brain, and that makes the brain feel good. And when you stop using the nicotine, that makes the brain really feel very bad. So you get the craving for these products.
So it might make you grumpy for a little while, but in the long term, it will make your body much, much healthier. And you can even live a longer life. As we spoke of earlier, tobacco products kill 8 million people every year from diseases like heart disease and what other diseases, Kirsten?
Cancer, cardiovascular disease, emphysema of the lung, but also diabetes, for example.
Respiratory disease, many others.
Yeah.
And now we are going to take a short break so we can go to some of our World No Tobacco Day winners from the U.S. And congratulations to you guys for winning last year's award. I think first we are going to speak with our guest Hannah, who is coming to us from Florida, and the youth group Students Working Against Tobacco. Hannah, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining us. And can you tell us a little bit about why you guys won the World No Tobacco Day award? You had a great campaign called I Am Not a Lab Rat. So what does that mean?
Sure. So Not a Lab Rat focuses on the growing youth e-cigarette epidemic and how we can prevent big tobacco from using youth as their lab rats or their test subjects for new products, because they've been starting to use tactics such as bright colors, abstract shapes, and youthful flavors to try to get kids hooked on these electronic nicotine delivery system devices. The campaign also includes an activity where we have kids say, "I am not a lab rat, I am," and then they fill in the blank, whether it's they're an advocate, they're an artist, they're the leader of the new tobacco-free generation. So that way they feel involved with the process and they feel empowered by not being able to be manipulated by big tobacco.
Wow, thank you. And for those of you watching, why don't you tell us what you are? Because you are not an experiment. You are not a lab rat. Why don't you tell us in the comments what you are? Are you an artist? Are you a musician? Are you a dancer? Are you an actor? And what about you, actually, Hannah? What are you?
I like to say that I'm determined. It keeps the question very open because you can be determined in a personal sense as well as an advocating sense as well as an academic sense. It just shows that as SWAT members and as youth in my local community and in a worldwide situation, I am determined to complete the things that I feel passionate about.
You guys have made a lot of impact with the students working against tobacco. So why did you decide to get involved with the group?
Sure. So I joined Students Working Against Tobacco 7.5 years ago. So I've been in it for a while, and I've seen a lot of personal growth in myself, whether it's through public speaking or teamwork skills or even creativity aspects. I grew up with a father who smokes, and I always wanted to advocate for him to quit. And although he never did, it was an organization that showed that other people were going through the same thing. And I met a lot of friends who were also dealing with secondhand smoke from their households, their family members, even their friends from a young age. And it gave us a chance to advocate for the youth for a tobacco-free generation. It's given us a chance to meet with policy and decision makers, youth and adults worldwide, and hear the stories of adults and teens who are trying to quit the use of nicotine and tobacco products. And so it's just a very passionate project for me, and I've been in it for so long that advocating for a tobacco-free generation almost comes naturally.
Thank you, Hannah. And we are going to go to your colleague, Alyssa, also from Students Working Against Tobacco. You guys have had such an incredible impact and made such incredible achievements in your community, in the state of Florida, in fact, that you were awarded the World No Tobacco Day Award last year. So, Alyssa, can you hear us okay? And congratulations again for winning last year.
I can hear you just fine, and thank you.
Great. And so we heard a little bit from Hannah about some of the achievements made. You guys met with policymakers. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Of course. Sorry.
So what achievements did SWAT have in the state of Florida and in the local community, in fact?
Of course. So actually, before Not a Lab Rat, we also had a campaign called Not a Replacement, in which students were able to rally and help pass a candied flavored tobacco resolution, which went in effect for all counties in Florida. And since SWAT has started in Florida, we've seen over 80% decrease in smoking among both middle school and high school students in Florida. So
incredible.
Yeah, this year we've also been focusing on the marketing tactics of flavored products, just like Hannah mentioned. So we're really working on reducing the spread of misinformation regarding e-cigarettes and their health effects on the youth and communities.
You guys are such an inspiration to show what youth can do together to help stop the tobacco industry and actually fight back against these industries. Why did you decide to get involved?
Of course. So I grew up in a family that used tobacco. It was something that was completely normalized. And growing up, I became an advocate for movements, for minority communities. And when I learned of specific targeting tactics towards people of color and like the relation that tobacco companies had with them, it made me really want to get involved to stop the targeting of not only the youth, but minorities in the community, especially African Americans.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us today, both of you. It's a pleasure speaking with you, and congratulations to all of our World No Tobacco Day awardees. Today we spoke with young people across the world, including from Ireland, Slovenia, and the United States. And I'm here with Kirsten Shata. We are answering your questions about how the tobacco industry is manipulating young people into using their deadly products. And if you'd like to find out more about the World No Tobacco Day campaign, you can visit www.who.int. And if you'd like to join some of our campaigns, we are across WHO social media platforms. You can take the TikTok quiz or on Instagram as well, or join our dance challenge. And we're using the hashtag Tobacco Exposed. So it looks like we are going to come to an end now. So I'd like to thank you, Kirsten, for joining us today and informing people of the harms of tobacco products and how young people can fight back. Thank you.
Thanks.
And now we're going to cut to a video for World No Tobacco Day, which explains how the industry continues to target young people even during this global pandemic, where it is actually much more deadly for people who are smokers.